Glad to have you back as still VOP this morning. The senator representing Bauchi Central, Abdul Ningi, has described President Bola Tinubu's police directive to withdraw escorts from very important persons across the country as selective enforcement. During Wednesday's plenary, Ningi lamented that while his only police orderly had been withdrawn, many ministers, governors, business executives, and private individuals continued to enjoy full security details. He further stated that it is unfair and unacceptable for senators to be deprived of security cover, while others, including political appointees and business elites, continue to have armed security details. He called for immediate corrective action. Other senators joined him to seek exemption from the directive as being enjoyed by the President, Vice President, President of the Senate, Speaker of the House of Representatives, state governors and their deputies, among others, warning that lawmakers should not be used as scapegoats. In his remarks, the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Jibril Barrow, who presided over the session, said issue raised by Ningi was extensively deliberated upon by the leadership of the Senate on Tuesday. He specifically informed the senator and other affected senators that efforts are being made to convince the presidency to exempt members of the National Assembly from orderly withdrawal implementation. We've been joined in the studio by Mr. Delifanimo, a veteran reporter, a public and political affairs analyst, and also we'll be joined by Prince Mayemi Benjamin Ogulami, a human rights activist, who will join us virtually. And from Port Harcourt, we'll have Chief Dr. Emmanuel Reyenama, a socio-political commentator and an advocate of good governance. He's also a seasoned and licensed human resource practitioner, a management consultant, and chartered mediator and conciliator. From Abuja, we'll have Philemon J. Kuko, a development economist, author, media and energy consultant, join the conversation. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Mr. Delifanimo.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Philemon, if you can hear me. Good to have you join today.
I hear you loud and clear. Good morning to you.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being here. I would like to start off from the studio, Mr. Delifanimo. What do you make of this, the issue raised by Senator Abdul Ningi on the floor of the Senate about the withdrawal of their security details, saying that it's more like open them, the lawmakers now, to harm or even ill fate, if I'm to use that word. And he went further to talk about the fact that this is more like a selective directive. The president, the vice president, the Senate president, and every other, according to him, some top business elites still have their security details with them. So why would they pull out those of the senators? Recall, we have a video we just played during one of the banters that we had this morning, where the first son of the president saw the security details that's moving with him and all that. Please help us make sense of this.
Let me start by saying that what is sauce for the goose should also be sauce for the gander. I would liken it to our clerics. When we run to them, they say, look unto God for your protection. But the next minute, you see them with mobile policemen in their tents, guarding them. Now, it is good for them to feel, even if they are going to return their orderlies to them, it is good for them to feel what we feel as ordinary Nigerians. They feel that because they are protected, then whoever cares to commit suicide is his business. Whoever is killed is his business. Now, they can't leave their homes. They can't leave their offices because, in the first instance, they are not doing what we voted them to do. Because if they are doing what we voted them to do, they will be protected by the masses. I've seen cases in the past where armed robbers will stop ordinary Nigerians that have impacted their communities. And when they see that particular man, they say, sir, we are sorry, sir. We didn't know you are the one. Please, go. They will clear the road for him. Those are people that impacted their communities. But the moment you have voted, you get to Abuja, you abandon your community. And then you cannot go home without security. Is that what we deserve? as Nigerians. So if the president had decided to say, okay, also feel the way these people feel on daily basis, you can't run to the police. Out of 380,000 policemen, you have 160,000 in the hands of these people. Over what? A senator goes with about 6 policemen. Whereas, apart from the 6 policemen on the road with him, he has about 3 in his house. Then another one in Lagos, if he has a house in Lagos, will be protected by the same number of policemen, and the wife would also have a policewoman carrying a bag and an umbrella when she's going out. So just a senator, almost 13 security aides. And they don't even like the regular policemen. It is mobile policemen. And mobile policemen were specifically trained to take care of riots and civil unrest. Go to anywhere now. In fact, the ones that cannot access the mobile policemen, because there is a difference between the regular policeman and the mobile policeman. And what they do is they use their own money to sew uniform, mobile uniform for regular policemen just because of their ego and pride. So that they will say, you see, ordinary policemen.
What do you think that the directive given by the president
for
is
me,
selective in any way?
I like the directive, even if it's not going to last. I know it won't last. You understand? But let them also feel the heat. So that when they are legislating on the floor of the National Assembly, they will now know that, look, beyond what you think you have, Nigerians also feel the way you feel when they are exposed. But they don't have anybody to cry to.
Okay, let me ask you this question. A lot of Nigerians, align their positions with yours, the position you have taken now, and they have held this withdrawal of the escorts, detailed from very important personalities, especially politicians, music stars, and all of that. I like to create you already made an analogy, like when armed robbers confront people of means in society who have impacted the society positively, they say, oh, sorry, we didn't know it was you, and they let them go, put them out of harm's way. This policy, how do you think it will reshape society?
This policy, yes.
Yes, to the extent that it will now spur people in government to act and impact their people positively. How do you think it will happen?
Now, what this has just done to us in Nigeria, particularly the masses, to which I belong, is the fact that stripped of that momentary office you occupy, you are just human like you and like you and I. So then it should be registered in their psyche now that, look, beyond the paraphernalia of office, you are like us. And then you now begin to empathize with us and see things the way we see it. Not that you are far flung and removed from the reality of what you and I are facing. Now, they are going to return their security details. But what I would advise is, those who take like 10, 15 policemen, they should be reduced to 2. And as a matter of fact, if harm will come their way, no matter the number of policemen that they carry about, we have seen these bandits, these terrorists attacking governors' convoys, even president's convoy. So who are you? But if you do well, even some bandits may even look at you and say, that popular man, no, let's release him. So what it is now instructive for them to know that whatever office you occupy, it is not for you to begin to exploit Nigerians, but to impact Nigerians in whatever way you can.
All right, then. Thank you very much for that, elaborate analysis there, Daily Fanimo. Thank you for your contribution. Now let's take this virtually to our guests. There's been a video playing on our screen. That video basically shows the president's convoy. I think this was sometime after elections. This is the convoy of the president. I don't know. I was trying to count earlier when the video was playing. You will lose count. You will lose count. But this is the president. I don't know if this is appropriate and how many. And the annoying thing here is how they drive sometimes. You see this. Just check that out. See this. For what purpose What if there's a mistake in the steering wheel or something, or the brake fails? You run into the crowd cheering. Now, this is what we have. Well, let's take this conversation to Philemon, Mr. Philemon Ajekuko. Good morning. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can
Great.
you hear me?
Great. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. We've seen this video. We've seen the president's son was also with a retinue of security detail the other time. What do you make of all of it? Is it that the IGP has lost control of his men? Because the president, the commander-in-chief, or CNC, as we now say, gave an order. When he gave that order, there was no ambiguity in it. He didn't say some VIPs. We know that senators are VIPs. Private individuals with money are VIPs. The president said, withdraw police detail from VIPs. There was no ambiguity in his statement. But the senators retained theirs, the president's son retained his, and some other individuals retained theirs, until just the other day we saw a policeman who was demoted because he was seen with a VIP in public. And we've seen them in parties in recent time with 2 or 3 security detail. Is it that the IGP is losing ground with his men, or is it that the police, the structure, don't even know how many men they have out there guarding individuals? And the president's order, has been flouted to the point where he had to say it again. What do you think is going on here?
It's a bit amusing. Let me even start from what I experienced at a conference sometime last week. A so-called VIP came in, wanted to deliver a speech, and a policeman went behind him to stand. And I was wondering, okay, what's really the point of a police officer standing behind somebody who is giving a speech? Does that protect the VIP? Because if I'm going to shoot somebody, I'm going to shoot from the front anyway. So you're standing behind him. What does it mean? It means nothing. But coming to your question, this is not the first time. I'm glad that the first speaker said that I hope it lasts. Those were his words. We have had these kind of orders several times, and it may not last. But that's not the issue. The issue is, why do we feel so insecure? And it is very simple, looking at it from the point of development. If you take a profile of countries that are highly developed, the more developed a country is, the less protection its public officers need. So one symptom of underdevelopment is this aggrandized sense of insecurity. Or there are people who do not really feel insecure, but they just want to display. They want this outward display of, I am a man of status. I have come of age. This is where I am. So I need people around me. They enjoy that atmosphere of 2, 3, 4, 5 policemen running around them. I once worked in the government house, and this was an ex-senator. He had a truckload of police officers. Whenever it comes to government house, I will ask myself, you are an ex-senator and you are going around with a truckload of police officers. What do you need these guys for? Is there really an existential threat to these people? The answer is no. It is no.
What do you think it's for then? What do you think it's for? Clout?
Say that again.
What do you think it's for? Is it for clout?
Yeah, it is. It is for clout. They just want to show that they belong to a certain class of people. Let me give you an example. I ran into Dangote at the airport, at the Abuja airport one day. They were driving in as I was leaving the airport. This is the richest man in Africa. He was sitting in the back of a vehicle. I'm trying to remember, it wasn't an expensive vehicle. There was no police officer in the car at all. There was no escort of any kind. This is the richest man in Africa. Who is really more at risk between, say, a Dangote
Well, it
and a
depends. It
senator?
depends on where you think the risk
or,
is coming from. If the risk is coming from the people who feel aggrieved at the political class, I think the political class are more at risk because.
Let me tell you something. Let me ask you something. Do you think that having 12 police officers around you is really a protection?
Don't you think so?
I don't think so. I don't think so. The president of America has the FBI around him all the time. How many presidents in America have been shot and killed? It's just a question of opportunity. Are these people, are they really trained to secure people? A lot of these guys, a lot of these policemen just hang around.
My question really is, why will the president's order be flouted the first time to the point where he had to make a second statement on the same matter?
Because it is a business. I hope you understand that.
And the president doesn't have a grip of those under him.
We had a situation where a president asked the IGP to go to, was it Benue State or somewhere, or Kogi State? You remember? I think Benue State.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember?
Yes,
was the IGP there? Did he ever make any attempt to go there? So we have people who are giving, and that's something that I also find interesting. There's a book called The Sheikh CEO. I think everybody should go and read it. It's about the man in the United Arab Emirates, the way he operates as the president of the place. When he gives an order, he personally sees to it that that order is carried out. So, sometimes you have this question of, it is the president cannot do everything. It's the people around him that don't carry out whatever he says. That is absolute nonsense.
Yeah, we still have, some questions in this regard. But let's quickly let's go to Chief Dr. Emmanuel Irayanama. Chief Dr. Irayanama, good to have you on the show. It's been a while.
Always my pleasure. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Now, I would like your reaction to that. And then my question to you is, now the president said about 100, that was the initial statement that the president made, 100 policemen withdraw from VIPs.
100,000.
Pardon?
100,000.
100,000, thank you very much. 100,000 policemen withdraw from VIPs, take your protection from civil defense. Do we have up to 100,000 civil defense individuals in Nigeria? Don't you think there will be some sort of vacuum? How do you think they intend to make that up? I mean, if details would be withdrawn from all senators, National Assembly members in general, and other VIPs, and they have to go to and then they're like how many now? I think 400 and something, 360.
109.
109. So about 475 or so. And they don't have one. They don't have two. They have more than two. So if you want to do the maths, my colleague here is not good at maths, but he's attempting something. So if you want to do the maths, they might the National Assembly might take up more than half of that 100,000, or about half of 100,000. And then where do you think we'll get the rest from? Seeing that the civil defense don't even have up to that manpower under their employ.
Before I first go back to why what is happening, the truth is that the supposed Nigerian leaders are far away from their people, hence their fear to reach them. That's the first reason why you hear that cry in the Senate. I mean, which government official should be closest to the people, if not their representatives? So why fear? It simply meant that you have unrepresented body. And so for me, this call of withdrawal is a call for accountability, and it's justified. Now, the second question you did ask that I heard was, why does it seem that the order of the president is not implemented? We have lost the command and change process in the Nigerian civil service and indeed in the security agencies. Now, the question is, how do people get these security persons? You have the local commanders in the state, you have the commissioners of police in the state, you have the IG. You even have divisional police officers who give out security persons. And I can even surprise you that there are beat commanders too who do the same deal. Just beat commanders who do the same deal. And the question is, at the point, who is who? People are sent on set official beats. From the beats, the commanders send them somewhere else. It happens. Now, let's get back to the opportunity for private securities to also get involved in a national security architecture properly. Do all these people need the regular police for their security? What is happening to our private security markets in the first instance in the country? If you claim you have so much money and you must find security, why not find security in that market?
How functional
What's our private
is that
security system
market,
doing?
really? How functional is it?
It will only be functional when we limit the use of public security.
Okay.
The public security at which that market becomes nonsense. And what we're talking about in this country is that we need to change the entire architecture of security, securing people and properties. And if that market grows, it will complement the state security system properly.
Okay, Dr. Roy, let me stay with you. Hello, Doctor. Let me stay with you. Now, the president made a very clear statement. He said,
yes, sir.
100,000 policemen withdraw them from protecting very important personalities, VIPs. But if you need protection, go to the NSCDC. That president's statement is recognition of the fact that these people need protection. Do you agree with the president? Do they need protection?
I would say it in two ways. One, it's a question of if you need protection. It's not as if he thinks they actually need protection. If you think that state will give you some level of protection, go to that agency and manage whatever you think you can have there. And it's up, again, to develop the private security market. But if you get there and the number is not enough, you'll find way. We know Nigerian security systems that are doing around our sister countries, but they can't operate fully well because the market is not favorable. Elsewhere, most private investigators do better work than even the state investigators. Why can't we take an opportunity like this to grow that market and see what we can get for ourselves and help ourselves? So it's, for me, it's an if thing. If you think you need, go to the civil defense.
All right. Now,
go and use the civil defense.
Now, Dr. Roy, I want to ask you directly.
The private security market.
I want to ask you directly now. These people, do they actually deserve protection? How about you and I, the ordinary people? What's the difference between us and them? If they do right in society, if they impact society positively, would they be needing security?
Answer it very straight.
I didn't get that, sir. Come again.
You see, you ask. Most times I like you because you ask questions that you answer in the long run. Because the truth is very simple. They do not need security if they are actual representatives of the people. They don't. If they are actual representatives of the people will be enough to secure them.
Okay.
Now, I'll tell you something. Today, our legislators and indeed people in government are such that they have no experience anywhere, they've never worked anywhere in their life, and they just get into something, and all they do is stealing. That alone is enough for you to be insecure. That alone is enough for you to be afraid. Because the people know you. They know you.
All right, Chief Dr. Emmanuel, thank you.
Somebody gets into government, and the only work he has done in his life, the only work he has done is ticketing in a motor park.
Thank you, Chief Dr.
And the next day he becomes
for your submission.
Cars that nobody can direct. And then he says he will be safe. He won't be safe. He will carry the entire world as security to guide him, to guide those things he has stolen. And that's what happens.
Interesting point to raise there. Let's take the conversation to Benjamin Obeyemi, who joined us virtually here from Lagos. Good morning, if you can hear me. Mr. Benjamin.
I can hear you.
All right, if you can hear me. Why is the withdrawal of the order from VIPs raising dust? We didn't hear much trouble when SUVs were bought for the senators. You know, recall that one of the senators of the opinion that the reason for that is the bad road that we have, and it might endanger them if they are to go to their constituencies with normal vehicle. Hence, the acceptance of the vehicles, sophisticated vehicles that were being bought for them. Why do you think we're having this back and forth? You know, the likes of Abduningi calling it a selective directive, even if a judge too also raised, you know, another opinion saying that even them that are judges whose security details were withdrawn too are being exposed to harm because of the, you know, judgment that must have dropped during court session and all of that.
If any group of people actually need security, perhaps it will be the judges alone. But let's get back to why, and I did mention part of the reason why I think it is so. I gave you an instance here where somebody who was a nobody, just because he got a mandate, either by force or through the real process, will become a millionaire overnight. The question is, what does that attract? It attracts insecurity. Many of them in power today cannot account for how they got their wealth. And yet, millions of people who ordinarily are supposed to be entitled to that wealth are poor. And you think they feel safe? They won't feel safe. They know. And I give you an instance of a gentleman who had never worked in his life. Never. There's no record of him working any place in his life. And all he has done is that he has been on a payroll over time. And you think the people will be happy? Of course, you will see him. In fact, the president may not even have a quarter security that someone like that would want.
It's clear here. Maybe they should increase.
And that's the danger. It is a fear of their actions. And security inflicted upon themselves by themselves. That's what their problem. Nothing else.
Let's also look at another point which some Nigerians have raised already, and that is about the fact that the president's first son, Seyi Tinubu, is still moving around with so much or so many security details. The Nobel laureate that we have in Nigeria, Wole Soyinka, you know, talked about what he saw in a hotel and all that. So what do you make of it, please?
Madness of people in power and their associates. Seyi has no business with governance or government. But as he meddles into his father's position from time to time, he exposes himself to some level of insecurity. And that's the simple truth. He had no business ordinarily. If he was doing what he needs to do, we'll talk to him. He could pass like a normal person. But of course, when you stain your hands to some extent, fear also comes in. Our country has become such that people in power turn them overnight to gods. And in the same vein, their associates and people around them, including their children and wives, tend to take the same position. And that's where we have a problem. Who approved those security for him? How did he get them? It's either one officer that is wanting to curry favor or the other, and or one that took money from him. What will be done to them? Nothing will be done to such officers. In fact, more than any other thing, she will recommend those persons for promotions and they will be promoted. And so you tell me how that kind of attitude will stop. But it's something that we need to be concerned with. It's something Mr. President needs to look at.
Dr. Ira Yenema, as the president's son, shouldn't he be entitled to some form of security? I'm not talking about a large number, like 1 or 2.
You said some form of security. You said some security.
Some form of protection.
Yes.
Some form of protection.
Some security, yes.
Okay.
Some, you said, yes, but not the type we see. Now, the first family as it were requires some element of security because they represent the nation. And that's, for me, is a given. But not the kind of security they carry we see. Is not in government. To what extent? That security is a function of exposure. The requirement for security must be a function of exposure. An interesting thing in this part of the world is what is causing that exposure? What is causing that exposure? Now, while a judge can say, look, I take decisions that amounts to life and death, and so I require security. What is happening in a representative? A senator or a National Assembly member will say he should warrant a security at that high level. That's the question we're trying to raise. What should the son of the president tell me he does that should make him require that volume of security we see him with?
Now, Doctor, talking about politicians, talking about senators and members of the House of Representatives, they have been classified as politically exposed persons. And you understand how our politics run here. Somebody has been defeated, policies have been made in government and they impact people somehow negatively. Shouldn't they have some form of protection when we classify them as politically exposed persons?
The classification is wrong in the first instance. And I said why? Why are they classify them in that direction? They are political, stealing, thieving people. If you're seen as one thief what belongs to all, then all come after you. It's a very simple thing. And so it's that fear of those that will come after me, knowing that I do certain things that should partly belong to them. That is the fear. That's the exposure, nothing else.
Well, I don't think it's appropriate to classify all political
is supposed to be the people's person
as stealing and thieving. I don't think that's appropriate. So, I
said majority. No.
Majority. Okay, a few of them.
If you don't want that, I will tell you why it is supposed to be all of them. And I tell you
some of them.
I say something here clearly. No, I can never say all of them. And I will tell you why I say all of them.
Can't say all of
I
them.
said a typical representative is supposed to be a people's person.
Okay.
A people's person.
Just wanted to clarify.
And a people's person is not supposed to be exposed to insecurity, as it were. If you are a people's person, it already means that you have an army to protect you. The people are not army to protect you.
All right.
So if you are not a people's person, that means you have either put yourself into that position, or you have done something wrong that the people will never want to associate with you.
Interesting. Well, thank you very much, Chief Dr. Emmanuel Irayanama. Thank you. Let's bring this back to the studio. Daily Fanimo. Now, let's pick it up from being a people's person and not being a people's person, and what it basically means for both the politicians and the populace. I mean, if the politicians feel they are not so close, they are afraid of the people that they represent, all right? And
They supposedly represent.
supposedly. Yeah, no, they represent the people actually.
No, they supposedly.
Okay. and then they guard themselves with security detail, and they move around like that, more often than not, intimidating the people that they, according to you, supposedly represent.
Represented.
Okay, but what then should the people do in terms of deciding who should ably represent them, or who should represent them better, since it doesn't seem like we have people's presence in political office?
You see, let me start with this example. When Thomas Nwalimu Nyerere left power, the communities around his village built a story building for him. He never had one throughout his tenure as president of Tanzania. Now, every morning when he wakes up, people from that community and adjoining communities, they donate food items at his doorstep, to the extent that at some point when he wakes up and wants to look at the other end of his house through the balcony, the heap of sorghum, banana, plantain and all that would be so high that it would be higher than a story building. And he had to call a meeting and say, please, I am old. I don't need this much. I can't even eat all of this. Please take care of other people that might need this and not me. That was security. Now imagine if anybody wants to try penetrating that particular house in that community, people will lay down their lives, because he served the country selflessly. Look at our first generation political leaders, the Sardauna of this world, the Balewa of this world, Nnamdi Azikiwe, and all the rest. They never had this stupendous wealth around them, even when they served. They served meritoriously. But today, the only benchmark for serving this country is unbridled wealth. And that's why they are detached from the people. And because they are detached from the people, there is no way they will not want pseudo security, because I call what they go about with as pseudo security. Because the security you require is the security of your community, who will rise up and say, no, you cannot touch our own. But they prefer to surround themselves with praise singers. Now, all said, the only way you can make people align with you is to reach out to those people who surrendered their sovereignty for you to be in that office. And how do you do that? We have, for each of these National Assembly members, they have between 10 and 13 aides that are paid from taxpayers' money. But do they engage those such people? But those people are supposed to be the gap, to bridge the gap between you and your constituency. But rather, they spend that money, which is paid directly to their own account, on thugs and marabout, in some cases, prophets and clerics. So, it is so bad now that even legislators, they want to outshine governors. There is no line between executive and legislative arm. Imagine the kind of humongous palliatives that some legislators distribute. Were they sent to the National Assembly to go and make money? They were sent there to make laws. And because they stole so much, you can imagine, as from next month now, which is 2026, You see them coming back home with kekena pep, with grinding machine, sewing machine, and all the rest
Motorbike.
for another 4 years. How can such a person feel secure in his community when he knows that the only thing he knows how to do is to bribe, to induce, not to serve the community the way that community will know that this person has served us? So there's no way you will not find all this. And that's why there's so much trepidation in the polity.
All right then. Well, we'll consider these concluding thoughts, right? As we move on to another
Yes.
Your concluding thoughts. All right, so Mr. Ajakuko, let's get your concluding thoughts on this one, and then we'll move on to another conversation.
The gentleman in the studio has said a lot of great stuff, and I completely agree with his submission. Now, this if I may ask, the threat that these people feel, where is it really coming from? Is it coming from the people or from their own colleagues? I want you to think about this question very carefully. The threat that they feel, is it coming from the people or from their colleagues? Now, when you look back at history, how many politicians have been attacked by the ordinary people who are taking the brunt of their recklessness? How many? And how many have been attacked by their fellow co-travelers? How many? Think about that.
Well, in very recent time, I think last week or thereabouts, the governor of Niger State, his convoy was stoned by the people. He was driving into his own community, and the people threw stones at his convoy.
So I find that very amusing. Stoning a governor. What does that do to the governor? Stoning a governor.
But it
By
shows,
the way,
it shows
and
displeasure.
as I said before, let me make this point very clear. As I said before, this whole thing is a business, and we know it is a business. People are benefiting from it big time. Just as you have terrorists, just as you have bandits, just as you have police at checkpoints. So it's a business. And who is benefiting from this business? You have the rank and file in the police who are benefiting from this. So when the president says, stop doing this, and that's the reason every time, whether the IGP or the president makes such a statement, it's never translated down the line. Because such orders disrupt business. It does. And so even the man who is sometimes the IGP who is making the statement knows that, look, I'm just making this statement for the sake of it, because there's something coming from this end. And that's what it is. Except we want to put our head in the sand and pretend that nothing is happening. And that is why it will continue to be.
Okay.
As long as we don't have good governance, because it's all about good. My good friend in the studio just talked about Tanzania. I remember that story. They used to call him a nickname. They would go to his house in the morning and greet him, and the man will come out. If there is good governance, you won't have this exaggerated sense of insecurity. So what is happening is as a result of what they have been doing over the years, the negligence that they have perpetuated within the system. And that's even becoming a wider thing now. This terrorism, kidnapping and all that. It's as a result of failure of governance.
All right.
So they are the ones that has put us in this insecurity that they are crying about, that policemen are not around to take care of them. Who are they? Are they more important than us?
Oh.
It's a big question.
Are they more important than us? No, they are not. But do they feel more important than us? Yes, they do. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ajakuko. Thank you very much for your contribution. Chief Dr. Emmanuel Irayanaman, now let's take a minute or two to take your concluding thoughts on this one, and then we get into another conversation.
The Nigerian leadership must understand that they can never get a better security than the people. It is a time to reflect seriously about how they have governed us, have presented us in the asked. If their fear is a self-inflicted fear, their fear of insecurity is one imposed on themselves, either because they had forced themselves to become our leaders, even when we said they shouldn't be, from what belonged to all of us, and the fear that we might come for them. A greater fear should come. What they think is just insecurity, and the fact that their names, even more, their families, even when they are gone, may not be secured because we know the source of their wealth. It's an opportunity for rethinking and for the economy. This is an opportunity to grow the private sector security architecture. We must support, we must change the narrative in this country where everything revolves just around government.
Indeed. Well, I absolutely agree.
For private individuals that actually need security, this is an opportunity. And we must take on this opportunity to make our country a better place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. I align my thoughts with yours on that one. The private sector security architecture needs to be developed, because that's how it is in other crimes. They register with the police and you can get security details from the private sector. I mean, I align my thoughts with yours. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Now let's go into another conversation away from this one. Let's talk about the hashtag End Bad Governance. That happened over a year ago. And some of those that were arrested, we hear that 11 of them have been acquitted. And they've been acquitted of treason, terrorism charges leveled against them. And their lawyer is asking for compensation. Let's talk about this when we come back after this break.